In this video, Brazil residency and citizenship through marriage. If you've fallen in love with Brazil and a Brazilian, and you want to make it official in more ways than one, today's video is for you. We're diving deep into how you can get Brazilian residency and even citizenship through marriage. Yep, tying the knot with a Brazilian could be your ticket to calling this incredible country home, legally. I'm going to break it all down for you, the process, the requirements, the timelines, and some insider tips to avoid common pitfalls. Okay? So don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps the channel grow. So, first of all, why Brazil? Why would you even want a Brazilian passport? I think even if you don't want to live in Brazil over the long term, but you're married to a Brazilian anyway, maybe you're living in Canada or the US or Switzerland, wherever you're living, consider living in Brazil for just 1 year so that you can get a Brazilian passport. The Brazilian passport is arguably the best or second best passport in all of Latin America. It's your key to visa-free travel in over 150 countries. It's also part of the Mercosur, so you will have residency and mobility and work rights in every country in South America. We have another video about the Mercosur agreement, but long story short, if you get a Brazilian passport, you will be able to legally live and work in any other country in South America, which is pretty cool. The Brazilian passport is also a member, Brazil is also a member of the CPLP community, which is the community of Portuguese-speaking countries, which would give you potential residency rights in Portugal, as well as, Mozambique and Angola and stuff like that. But the main one is you would have residency rights in Portugal as a Brazilian citizen, which would be pretty attractive, especially for the Canadians and Americans and non-Europeans that are watching this video. Okay, so Brazilian passport is really, really good. It gives you access to much more than just Brazil, and any second passport is very valuable. So consider living in Brazil for just 1 year in order to claim this thing. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's talk about the steps. So it all starts with residency, and marriage is one of the fastest ways to make that happen. So let's talk about getting married in Brazil or abroad. So step one is you've got to get married. Sounds simple, but there's a bit to unpack here because it depends where you tie the knot. It depends if you get married in Brazil or abroad. If you're marrying in Brazil, you'll need to follow Brazilian marriage laws. You and your Brazilian partner will head to a cartório de registro civil. That's the civil registry office. You'll need some documents like your passport, your birth certificate translated into Portuguese, and a declaration of your marital status to prove that you're not already married. That last one might need to come from your home country's embassy or consulate. Oh, and here's a pro tip. All foreign documents need to be translated by a sworn translator and notarized. It's a hassle, but we can help with this, by the way. Now, if you're marrying outside Brazil, like in the US or Canada, wherever you're from, you can still use that marriage to apply for residency in Brazil. You'll just need to register your foreign marriage in Brazil later on. Take your marriage certificate to a Brazilian consulate or embassy to have it legalized, and then register it at a cartório in Brazil within 180 days of arriving in Brazil. Either way works in terms of in Brazil or outside Brazil. So it's really all about what's more convenient for you and your partner. Once you're officially hitched, the real fun begins, which is applying for residency. So now you're married, congrats. Now let's talk about getting you that residency. In Brazil, this is called a visto permanente por reunião familiar, a permanent visa based on family reunion. Since you're married to a Brazilian, you qualify for permanent residency right off the bat, which is pretty compelling. So here's how it works. If you're outside Brazil, you'll apply at a Brazilian consulate in your home country. If you're already in Brazil, say on a tourist visa, you can apply directly with the federal police. Either way, you'll need to submit a big stack of documents, so let's run through the big ones. So number one, your marriage certificate, either the Brazilian one or the foreign one you registered. 2, your passport, make sure it's valid for at least 6 months, ideally more than a year. 3, proof of your spouse's Brazilian citizenship, so their Brazilian birth certificate, their carteira de identidade, which is their ID, okay? Number 4 is the completed application form. 5 is proof that you can support yourself, like bank statements or a job contract, or that your spouse can support you. 6 is a clean criminal record check from your home country, translated and apostilled. And 7 is, of course, some passport-sized photos and some fees as well. Once you submit everything, the consulate or federal police will process it. If you're abroad, they'll issue the visa and you'll have 90 days to enter Brazil. Once you're in the country, you'll register with the federal police within 30 days to get your carteira de registro nacional migratorio, which is your residency ID. So how long does this take? From application to approval, it's usually 3 to 6 months, but it can vary. Consulates might move faster than the federal police or vice versa, depending on the backlogs. And if you choose to do the marriage residency service with us, MyLatinLife, we can let you know what we're seeing in terms of what's taking longer and what the fastest path to getting residency is, and also the most logistically convenient path. Worth noting that MyLatinLife is a full-scale immigration consultancy service. We cover Brazil as well as every country in Latin America. In Brazil, we have a CPF service where we can get you a CPF ID. We can do marriage visas. We can do the Viper investor visa. We can do the Mercosur visa. We can do every visa type in Brazil. We also do Paraguay residency and so forth. So there's a link in the description where you can book a call with us. You'll be speaking with me directly. You'll officially be our client, and we're going to put you on a path and a strategy to getting this Brazil marriage visa and ultimately Brazilian citizenship in the quickest, most smooth and stress-free way possible. So again, link in the description to book a call with us, and we'd love to handle your case and get you Brazilian residency, because you're going to have to use a lawyer for this. You do not want to do this by yourself. Moving on. So living in Brazil as a resident. Now that you've got your residency, what does that mean? Well, because it's permanent, you can live and work in Brazil indefinitely. No more tourist visas. You'll get a CPF number, which is like Brazil's social security number, which lets you open up bank accounts, get the PIX, as it's called, sign leases, and even buy a car. You're basically a Brazilian resident with all the perks, minus citizenship for now. Here's the catch. This residency is tied to your marriage. If your marriage ends, like through divorce, before you get citizenship, you could lose your permanent status. This doesn't mean you're kicked out automatically, but you'd need to switch to another visa type like a work visa or an investment visa. So, keep the romance alive long enough to get Brazilian citizenship. It's only 1 year, guys. You can do it. And then after you get Brazilian citizenship, then you can do what's best for yourself after that. But just a quick note there. Okay, moving on. So going for citizenship, the golden ticket, the Brazilian passport. Once you've been a resident, you can apply for naturalization. And being married to a Brazilian fast-tracks this. Normally, foreigners need to live in Brazil for 4 years with permanent residency to qualify for citizenship. But if you're married to a Brazilian, that drops to just 1 year. Here's what you need to apply. 1 is proof of your 1-year residency, so your residency ID and registration records. 2, your marriage certificate, still valid, of course. 3, a clean criminal record check in Brazil. 4 is basic Portuguese fluency. You don't need to be fluent, but you need to be at least conversational, kind of like A2, B1 level. And 5, the application form and some fees. Once you have all that submitted, the process takes about 6 months to a year, depending on how fast the government moves. Again, another reason to have a really good lawyer because they can sort of fast track the process, which we can do. Once approved, you'll swear an oath, get your citizenship certificate, and then you can apply for a Brazilian passport. Oh, and the good news is that Brazil allows dual citizenship. So you do not need to give up your original nationality unless your home country forces you to. But if you're from Canada, the US, Europe, most people watching this video, you do not need to renounce your home country citizenship in order to become Brazilian. You'll simply become a dual citizen and have multiple passports. Cool. So before we wrap up, let's talk some tips and avoiding common traps. So first, double check, triple check your documents. Missing a translation or notarization can delay everything by months. Second, hire a lawyer or immigration consultant if you can. They're not technically mandatory, but they'll save you so many headaches navigating Brazilian bureaucracy. If you know anything about Brazil, you know that this is going to be a frustrating process, and doing it by yourself is not going to be fun. Highly recommend using a lawyer, a fixer, an immigration consultant. If it's not us, use somebody else, but do not go through this yourself. But I think we have the best possible team in Brazil that you could possibly have. They're perfectly bilingual, Portuguese, English speaking. I literally have the best Brazil team you could possibly have for residency and citizenship, and I will stand on that. So book a call with MyLatinLife and let's get you going right away. Okay, so there you have it, your roadmap to Brazilian residency and citizenship through marriage, from saying I do to holding a Brazilian passport. It is a journey, but it's totally doable. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who might need it, share it with anybody you know that's married to a Brazilian citizen, and subscribe to the channel for more videos about visas, residencies, citizenships, and internationalization in Latin America. See you in the next video.